Zutzau, and the Lithospermum erythrorhizin. And the name erythrorhizin means red root, and it's got a kind of reddish, magenta-ish colored root. When you pull out the root, you'll see it, you can see that. And there's this idea in Chinese medicine, and not only Chinese medicine, in most forms of traditional herbal medicine, they have an idea called the doctrine of signatures. And this is an idea that means that form and function may be connected. So one perfect example of this is those goji berries. What color are they?
Red.
Red. And they're primarily, first and foremost, a blood tonic. So the red color of the herb can tell you that it may have an interaction or effect on the blood. It isn't always going to be tonic. It might do something else to the blood. But it has an affinity for the blood. And there is some basis for this concept in physics. You know, the vibrational energy, if you will, or, you know, subatomic particles that are moving and creating this red color have a similar vibration, even if it's at a different frequency, to any other thing else that's red. So, you know, in the red gochitsa, it's going to have a frequency that's going to resonate with your blood, because your blood is also red. And there is this idea that form, therefore, and function can be linked. So the red of this root also is linked to the blood. This is an herb that cools the blood. It clears heat and cools the blood. Let me tell you about the plant before I go more into the use of it. So this plant's a perennial, and it grows in full sun, prefers full sun. You propagate it through seeds. It's basically a clumper. It just grows a little wider as it gets older. It can be invasive through the seeds. It does, if it's happy, it'll start sending up new plants everywhere from the seeds. So you got to be careful about it. You got to stay on top of that if you don't want it to spread too much. Of course, you do have to use the root of it, so you do want a number of plants in order to make sure you got enough and you don't just use up everything you've been growing. And it doesn't seem to go dormant here in the wintertime. It stays green. So this plant, as I said, is a clear heat, cool blood herb. The root is what's used for medicine. And it's used for treating when there's heat that gets into the bloodstream, usually through some kind of infection, but it could be from toxicity too. And it will create possibly a fever, purple tongue. There may be even purple spotting on the skin for bleeding that's going on right under the skin, called purpurea. And so it can be useful for clearing the heat out of the blood like that. It's also good for helping when there's a rash, a heat rash, like purpurea, that is accompanied by constipation or accompanied by, like, possibly urinary infection, something like that, where there's difficulty with urination and burning. Because it helps promote urination, it also helps constipation when there's heat present. So what it's doing is it's helping sort of clear this heat out of the skin and out of the blood level and removing it out with the urine and basically the bowel movements. It can also be used topically too for damp heat type skin problems where there's itching and possibly some oozing, maybe a strong odor. Could be used for yeast infections, things like that, externally, or douche, that kind of a thing.
Can you repeat what you called the concept of the form function?
Doctrine of signatures.